Okay, welcome everyone. My name's Raghav, and for those of you who don't know, Tattva is a creative leadership ecosystem for emerging ideas. Ideas that are inspired by the integrating worldview of Dharma. That's rooted in the principles of interconnectedness, diversity, and sustainability. Now, the Creative Leadership series are a set of conversations where experts, authors, changemakers share immersive insights on topics related to creativity and leadership. Manifesting something new in the world takes incredible creative energy. When that energy is channeled to produce something better for society, we call that leadership. It's only ever a small creative minority that can change the world. And we're honored to have Satish Kumar, who personifies creative leadership. Satishji, we're here to talk today about value-driven leadership and ecological awareness. Welcome. Can you tell me in just a few sentences what that means to you?
Loss of leadership is driven for name, fame, prestige, awards, money, power. I want to see that changing, and the leadership is driven by values. And we have many examples of that, wonderful examples, such as Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King and Nelson Mandela, people of that nature. So they are leaders driven by values rather than external accomplishments and success in power, position, money, etc.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, for those of you listening, that's exactly what we're going to be unpicking today. And just before we move on, Satishji has got an incredible life story. So I actually want to go a little bit into his bio a little bit more. So Satishji is a long-term peace and environmental activist. He joined the Wandering Monks at the age of 9. He walked 8,000 miles across continents on foot without any money in a peaceful protest against nuclear weapons. Satishji then settled in the UK, becoming the editor of the Resurgence magazine, a position he held since 1973 to 2016, which actually makes him the longest serving editor of the same magazine in the UK. He went on to receive multiple honorary doctorates from multiple universities, authored several books, one which I'm reading right now, which is Elegant Simplicity, loving it. Made several media appearances and documentaries, the vice president of the RSPCA, and much sought after speaker in the UK and abroad. I mean, that was me trying to summarize it because Satishji very humbly asked me to summarize it, and that was my very best. But you know, you have an incredible list of achievements. It really is an honor to have you here with us today, Satishji. I think first thing, when I read about what I read about you was that at the age of 9, you joined the wandering Jain monks. You gave up family life, you know, the worldly life. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that decision? You know, what lessons did you learn? Because you did it until you were 18, I believe.
Yes, yes. I was a Jain monk. And the most important principle of Jain religion is non-violence. Non-violence to yourself. You have to be kind to yourself, and non-violent to other people, and non-violent to nature. These are the 3 levels of non-violence. And also other 3 levels, that you have to be non-violent in your thought and attitudes, non-violent in your words, and non-violent in your action. So non-violent to yourself, non-violent to people, non-violent to nature, by becoming non-violent in your mind, in your words, and your action. So with that principle, for 9 years, I was every day walking. And when you are walking bare feet, of course, as monks don't wear shoes, and monks don't have money. So I was walking without money from age 9. And that was bringing me into nature. It was bringing me into sand dunes. in Rajasthan, in the mountains of Uttar Pradesh, and into the rivers and the lakes and the birds and the animals. So as a monk, child monk, I was out in nature. And so non-violence and being in nature, with nature, inspired by nature, that was a wonderful combination. And also living elegant simplicity, it was an extreme simplicity, because I could have only one begging bowl and one change of clothes and no shoes and no home, just wandering monk. So that gave me resilience. That gave me strength. I could live without anything and still be happy. And so the resilience, that strength, that kind of perseverance, that I can keep going, keep walking and begging for my food. And if people give me, I bless them. If they don't give me, I still bless them. Non-violent is, being non-violent is to be non-violent to those who are not being kind to you, who are not giving you food, who are not giving you respect. They are saying to you, why you young man walking and begging for food? Why don't you go and work and earn your money? People will say like that. And we sit, listen, and we smile. So that was the reason that I found being a Jain monk extremely good training, good beginning in my life.
Brilliant. Amazing. Now, I've done a little reading in your book, Elegant Simplicity. There's an incredible change then. Something happened when you're 18 years old, which probably then set a precedent for the rest of your life. Could you just tell us a little bit more about, that transition?
Transition was that when I was 18 years old, I mean, this in my book is a whole story about being bewildered and being despondent, because I read a book by Mahatma Gandhi, and you talked about leadership driven by values. He was the kind of leader par excellence in terms of values driven. And he wrote in this book that in order to practice spirituality, you don't have to give up the world. How many people can become monks? How many people can live in monastic order? How many people can just beg for their food? People have to work. People have to grow food. People have to have families. And so how to transform everyday life into spiritual life? Spirituality and everyday life should not be separated. So our politics should be spiritual. Our business should be spiritual. Our agriculture should be spiritual. Our family life should be spiritual. And so bringing this unity between material world and the spiritual world, between living every day in an ordinary way, but with our motivation, with our intention, with our attitudes, we transform the ordinary into extraordinary. When I read that, that really challenged me. And I became very unsettled in my mind. And I said, I am trying to escape from the world. I think the world is a dirty place. World is sinful. And I must find salvation by leaving the world, escaping the world, and living in a monastic order so that I can have nirvana, I can have moksha, I can have liberation. So that was the kind of challenge of Mahatma Gandhi. And so I had a lot of thinking and a lot of kind of mind searching, mind boggling. But in the end, once you are a monk, you are a monk forever. You are not allowed to break your monkhood. You take the vow for life. But I was feeling that I'm in a wrong place. Even though I learned a lot, non-violence was wonderful, walking in nature was wonderful, but was escaping from the world. and I was looking at the world as a dirty place, a sinful place. Mahatma Gandhi was saying, the world is beautiful and you can make it beautiful by your intention, by your action, by your motivation. So I said, I want to practice spirituality in the world and I want to make the world a beautiful place. And so one night after midnight, when everybody was asleep, I escaped. I ran away from the monastic order. And eventually I found a refuge in a Gandhian ashram. And there I tried to bring spirituality and material world into one. No dualism, no separation, no disconnection between spiritual values and everyday living. Everyday living should be in the service and out of love and out of compassion and in the service of humanity. If you are doing everything in the service of humanity, that is the leadership which is driven by values. So that's how I escaped the monastic order, even though I was very, very grateful to have spent those 9 years with my guru and learned a lot about many, many wonderful things. But in the end, I had to choose a different path.
Wow. Well, and obviously we're so grateful that you did because of everything you've done since then. So, I mean, over the last year, the entire world has been victim to the coronavirus. You know, many countries brought to its knees. And this time, there's been a really sharp focus on how leaders and change makers across the world have reacted. You know, successful leaders can often be, like you said, driven by power, driven by money, even pride, you know, their name. So when we talk about value-driven leadership, what do you mean? You know, what values are we talking about?
The most important value in leadership is the value of service. I am an activist. I work for ecological, environmental sustainability. I want to see the world looked after. Our Mother Earth, our precious planet Earth should be looked after. So I'm an activist, but I'm activist with humility. It is that I am in the service of humanity. I'm in the service of planet Earth. I don't have a kind of arrogance, or I don't have a feeling that I know the answer. The world is wrong. I'm right. I want to put the world right. There's a kind of arrogance which I don't think is value driven. So for me, the greatest value of leadership is a sense of service. All our actions are in the service of humanity and the service of the planet Earth and the service of animals, forests, mountains, rivers, oceans, insects, and human beings. All life, irrespective of their diversity, all life is sacred. Life is sacred. And so we give our life to serve other life. Life sustains life. Life celebrates life. And so with that sense of service, we act. So that's the first and foremost important, paramount value that I prefer in leadership. The second value, which I think is very important for leadership, is humility. Unless we have humility and we are prepared to just act without desiring the fruit of our action, we are there just to offer our time, our talent, our conviction, our energy, our body, whatever we have, with humility and with not arrogance. So these are the two values I would like that leadership should be driven. And then action should be, you choose whatever action inspires you. Some people can go and serve the poor. Some people can go and look after the animals. Some people can go and look after and plant the forest and trees. Some people can go and campaign for ecological resilience and sustainability. You can choose the action which suits you, as long as you are driven by humility and a sense of service. Then whatever action you do, some people can be interested in education, they can go into education. Some people can be interested in medicine, they can become doctors and healers and carers. So what action you choose as a leader is completely free. It's up to each and every individual to decide what is the best way that I can serve humanity and I can serve planet Earth, and do it that humility. And then all the results will be given to you, but you don't desire any results, but they will come to you. And they will be, it's a mutuality. Everything depends on mutuality and each other and reciprocity. So, but I would say that a great leader does not hanker after results, does not seek results, just seek action. Action is its own reward. As long as you act with humility and a sense of service, you are a great leader.
Well, I just want to talk about that point you've just said a little bit more, because um, I've come across this idea of detached action, like you said, very much stems from humility. This idea that you're not attached to the results of your actions, but in a world where any work you do, any passion you have, you're so invested in that work that you just become invested in the results, and it's really hard to become detached from that. So how do you what can you do to sort of constantly feel detached from the results, yet working on
There are no results. Life is a process. Life is a journey. There is no destination. My autobiography I have written is called No Destination. So results are, everything is action. When you are hungry, you eat. When you eat, you do washing up. When you're done washing up, you do gardening. You've done gardening, you go for walking. Everything leads to another action. So in the same way, we act because action is its own reward. Action has its own intrinsic value. For example, at the moment I'm speaking with you, this is my action. What do I want to achieve from it? I cannot control what I will achieve. I cannot control that you will be, I don't want to convert you to my ideas, because that's not my aim. It's a process of mutual sharing. It's a process of mutuality. Speaking to you is my pleasure. It's my honor. It's my humility. It's my offering. It's my service. I'm here for you. That's all. I don't want to achieve anything. I don't want to have a name, fame, recognition, followers, nothing I want. And so if we do action for its own sake, then that's a pure action. And that's a beautiful action. You can focus entirely on your action. Your mind is not diverted. Your mind is not distracted by any other desires for achieving this or outcome of that and results of that. Because when you are focusing on the results, outcomes, achievement, accomplishment, then your focus is diverted and distracted from the present moment. But we have to, as a great leader, you have to live in the present moment, in the here and now. So I'm speaking to you now. I'm present totally here and now. I have no other idea what will be the achievement of this interview, what will be the result of this interview, what will I gain from this interview. All those things are just irrelevant, out of question for me, irrelevant. I just want to focus our conversation. It's a great joy, great pleasure. So in the same way, when I'm writing a book, I just enjoy writing the book. When I'm painting a picture, I just enjoy painting the picture. When I go for walking, I just enjoy walking. When I'm cooking, I just enjoy cooking. And so whatever action, when I was demonstrating against nuclear weapons, walking from India to Moscow, to Paris, to London, to Washington, walking 8,000 miles, but nothing to achieve. I was walking. Peace is not the goal. Peace is the way. There's no way to peace. Peace is the way. So life is a way. There's no goal. I don't have any goal, any achievement. I want to live every moment as if this is it. This is the greatest moment of my life. I live fully 100% in that moment and celebrate that moment and rejoice that moment. And every moment is a great gift from the universe. So hanker not for the results, hanker not for the outcome. Just focus on the action itself. And when you are focusing action itself, make the action as beautiful as possible, as joyful as possible, as comprehensive and wholesome as possible. And that will give you joy, and satisfaction. So if there's any result, the result is your own fulfillment, your own joy, and all blessing and fulfillment. That is the result. And that result comes every moment when you act.
Wow. The concept of, well, as you're saying, detached action, pouring yourself into the work and not thinking about the results, iconically comes from like the Bhagavad Gita, and you've mentioned you're part of the Jain background. They part of the dharmic sort of culture. And is there something unique that the dharmic culture can offer to the world, and how can we make those values that you've described accessible and transferable?
Yes, I think this is coming in the Indian tradition very strongly, in Bhagavad Gita and in Jain tradition, also in the Buddhist tradition, in Taoist tradition. All the Eastern spirituality and Eastern traditions have this idea to live in the present moment and not think too much about the past and not think too much about the future. Maybe a little bit, 10% of the past and maybe 10% of the future, or 20% of the future. But 60, 70% of your time, your attention should be in the present moment. This is a very strong teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, of the Jain, Buddhist, Taoist teachings. In the West, people have been very much sort of focused on results and outcome and achieving something. But what do we want to achieve? That has resulted into this great industrialization and a tremendous urbanization and production and consumption, because they want to achieve something more and more and never satisfied. We have, America is the biggest economy in the world, and yet it's not happy. England is fifth or sixth economy in the world, and still where are we? What have we achieved? If we have not achieved happiness and joy and fulfillment and satisfaction, and sense of community and sense of camaraderie and sense of friendship, what is all the achievements are for and worth? So they are not worth anything. And therefore, this hankering after results in the West has resulted into this materialism and consumerism and production and consumption and profit and more profit, and every year greater and greater profit. And that leads to nowhere. So those can be means to an end. The end is being well and being happy, well-being. That should be human fulfillment should be the aim, and not all this production and consumption and profit and making money and economic growth. All these things lead to nowhere. And if they lead to destruction. And this is why we have got climate change, we have got COVID-19 crisis, because expansion of this human activities. We are encroaching on the wildlife. We are taking the forests and turning them into factory farms in Brazil and Indonesia and Malaysia and India. And we are many beautiful forests are being destroyed because of this drive for the achievement, bigger and bigger production, bigger and bigger consumption. So nature has become a resource for the economy because of this goal-driven, achievement-driven activities. And so nature has become a tool, nature has become an instrument, nature has become a resource for the economy, whether nature is not a resource for the economy, for the Indians or for those who believe in Bhagavad Gita or the Jain non-violence. Nature is a source of life. Nature is not a resource for the economy, but nature is a source of life. And production and consumption should be in the service of humanity. But at the moment, the humanity is in the service of production and consumption. Human beings have become instruments of production and consumption. If you are employed by companies, multinational corporations, as an instrument, as a resource, they call it human resources. Human beings are not a resource. Human beings are the source of life, the source of joy. So nature has become a resource. Humans have become a resource because of this goal-driven, achievement-driven, result-driven, profit-driven, economic growth-driven culture. So we have to see this culture as it is and change it to make it more sustainable, more resilient, more ecological, more human, and more environmentally friendly.
Well, so what you're saying is, when our mindset shifts from that when our mindset shifts towards nature being very much a part of us, it's all forms of life
Yeah,
being, to get that togetherness. That shift is when you start to not see nature and humans as a resource, and you can actually grow together. Um,
absolutely.
so, like, there are thousands. I was reading. There are thousands of new startups every day. In fact, in 2019, there were 670,000 startups in the UK. That's over 1,000 a day. Um, so there's, new startups, new platforms, new organizations. What would you say that any of these, the three main ingredients they should have? Any new business or new platform, whether it's on social media or any organization, going forward now, what
Yeah,
do you think they?
there are two kinds of organizations. One organization is to communicate, like you are communicating, Tattva is communicating ideas and values. And the other organizations are businesses which produce things like producing shoes, producing food, producing clothes, producing books, producing something, even producing television, producing some radio program. So there are two different kinds of organizations, but both of them should have one basic idea. It is to enhance the well-being of humans and planet Earth. That should be the purpose. Not to make profit, not to make economic growth, not to become famous, not to become powerful or prestigious or gain awards, but to serve humanity and serve planet Earth and enhance the joy and a relationship and friendship and love and compassion and a joy is the most important thing for me. Don't seek success, seek fulfillment. Rather than being successful, try to be joyful. That is through the purpose. So organization should be, so if you are working for an organization, it should be a joy for you. It should be a pleasure. Every day should be a wonderful day. And you are serving humanity through communication, through making something, through producing books, through producing food. It should be a source of joy. Every moment you do it should be a source of joy. I'm not against organizations. I myself have been editor of Resurgence and Ecologist magazine for 43 years. And I produce magazine every 2 months. But I don't have any other goal than serving the readers and bringing them good ideas, which will be helpful to them. In the same way you are producing this program now, your aim is to bring good ideas, which will be helpful and joyful and enjoyable to your listeners and yourself. So every organization should have this aim, that we are doing it because it will bring joy and happiness and pleasure and friendship and relationship among people and between people and nature. Why does a tree produce food? Why an apple tree producing apples? Just for its own pleasure and for sharing the fruit with anyone, humans, animals, plants, soil, bees, wasps, poor, rich, whoever you are, take apples. That's the kind of example and a model that we can have. So be an organization like a tree is an organization. A garden is an organization. In the same way, your business should be a garden of compassion, a garden of love, a garden of friendship. So when you are 10 people, 20 people working in an organization, you should think that this is your family. This is your sangha. This is your community. And nobody should be hierarchical, that I'm your boss and you are my servant and you must do what I tell you to do. Not that kind of organization, but you are a community. You sit together and work out together and say, this is your forte. You are good at this thing, do that. You are good at technology, you do technology. You are good at asking questions, you ask questions. You have something else, other skill, do your skill. Well, everyone has their skill. Like apple tree produces apples and a gooseberry tree produces gooseberry. Don't have to compare them. When you want to have gooseberry, you have a gooseberry. They're different function. When you have a rose flower, you have a rose flower. And when you have a snowdrop, you have a snowdrop. There's no comparison. So we all can contribute to best of our ability to make the ecosystem and the family and the community and the humanity and the ecosystem of all together as rich as possible. That should be the purpose of organization. And then, of course, money is a kind of oiling the wheels. Money is a kind of facilitator. So you can use the money as a facilitator, but money earning and making money should not be a purpose. Purpose should be higher, and money should be a means to an end and not the end itself.
Wow. Actually, what you've said, it kind of brings me on to this other question I had. Does positive change, does it come more from an exceptional individual, or does it come from an exceptional organization?
Both. If you take the examples of great individuals such as the Buddha or Krishna or Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King or Mother Teresa or Simone de Beauvoir or the women who fought for the suffragettes. These individuals sacrificed their life, offered them as an example for others to follow. They become like teachers and they shine the light for others to follow. So I think individuals have a great role to play in this process of life. And we should honor them. And we should not feel any jealous or anything, but we should honor them. It's great that we had a Buddha, Jesus Christ, Mahatma Gandhi, St. Francis, Ramana Maharshi, Ma Anandamayi. Many women and men have been great examples, individuals, and they set good example and they inspire other people. But also organizations also play a great role. So, for example, Oxfam plays a great role in putting people's poverty and putting people's misery out and helping them. So, for example, I'm vice president of this animal organization, which looks after the animals. And so we look after animals. And so organizationally, we play an important role. So organizations have a great role to play. And organization is only a community of people working together. Like Vivekananda was a great person as a human being. But after he has gone, Ramakrishna Mission is playing a great role in promoting Vedanta, and in India they distribute medicine and they run schools and so on. So organizations are also very important. So I think both of them have their role to play. So if you are an organization like Tattva, you can play a very great role in communicating, inspiring, and helping people to be who they are and manage their life in such a way that they can be of service to others.
Brilliant. So, the thinking, going back perhaps a little bit, the thinking of the shift to seeing, valuing life, valuing nature. How do we create a system where this type of thinking becomes the norm?
There are three things we can do. First of all, those who become aware of this truth have to live it. As Mahatma Gandhi said, you have to be the change that you want to see in the world. You have to radiate the change. Like a radiator radiates the heat. You have to be a radiator. I have to be a radiator. Each and everyone who becomes aware of it, that this is what we need to do: look after nature, look after people, look after forests, look after animals, make sure that planet Earth is sustained and resilient. So we have to live that example. We cannot preach others without being the example. So that's number one step. Be the change that you want to see in the world. Radiate the change. Second, you have to communicate the change. So all the great teachers, the Buddha communicated, Mahatma Gandhi communicated, Krishna communicated to Arjuna through Bhagavad Gita. So all the traditions, you can say Tao Te Ching communicated. Martin Luther King communicated. Mother Teresa communicated. So you have to communicate, and you have to learn how to communicate through words, through poetry, through art, through music. Like Picasso communicated his idea of peace by painting Guernica. John Lennon communicated his vision through music by playing music. Ravi Shankar communicated through playing a sitar. And so that every one of us need to learn to communicate our values, our vision, our ideals, our experiences, and our skills. That's a very, very important. And many of us don't learn those skills. We just get 9-to-5 job, and we just kind of follow the orders of our boss, and we don't become imaginative, we don't become creative, and we don't communicate. So I want everybody to learn to be imaginative and use the imagination and be creative and learn some skillfulness so that you can communicate through art, craft, music, gardening, cooking, speaking, writing books, whatever you can do, communicate the change. That's very important. And the third one is organize the change. All the great leaders have organized the change. The Mahatma Gandhi organized the independence movement. Anti-apartheid movement was organized around the world. At the moment, anti-racist movement is being organized. The women organized their movement for women's liberation. And so you are like Tattva, is organizing. So organize the change. So these are three things you bring together for transformation. Transformation happens when we be the example, we communicate our change and our ideals and values, and we organize that so that other people can join as a Sangha and work together. So it becomes a movement. So environmental movement has become a movement now, and the more and more people are becoming aware of climate change, of biodiversity diminishing, of pollution, like David Attenborough's films are very helpful in that. So that environmental movement has become a movement because people have organized the change. Greenpeace, Friends of the Earth, WWF. So be the change, communicate the change, and organize the change, and then change will happen.
That was a beautiful, that middle, the second one, communicate the change. So, with social media and like technology, streaming like Netflix, like constantly, you're attached to the digital world. We're constantly consuming information, especially the younger generation, constantly consuming information, and years go by before we even get our own thoughts out there. How do we make that shift from consuming everything around you to shifting and just creating, that artistic?
No, there is a big difference between communicating change and entertainment. Lots of social media information is mere information. It's not transformation. It's not change. Netflix doesn't bring much change of consciousness, and mostly it's a kind of entertainment. It's a kind of, lots of films you see, they are full of violence and thrillers and excitement and sex and all that, but there's no real communication. But what you have is like David Attenborough's film, particularly the recent ones. They are real instruments of change. They have communicated and woken up people that what are we doing to our oceans? What are we doing to our biodiversity? So there's a difference between entertainment and communication for transformation. Entertainment and information is not enough. Most of our social media, like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all the other rest of it, they are mostly information and entertainment and not transformation and not real communication for change. So there's a difference between the two. So I would say, follow the example of David Attenborough, follow the example of Picasso, follow the example of John Lennon and Ravi Shankar and John Byers and many other musicians and artists and painters and gardeners. Monty Don, he's a communicating change on his way. Organic gardening, Monty Don, he's a communicator. And that's the kind of communication you need to do. It's not just transformation, not just information, but communication for transformation.
So what you're saying is that So yes, you can make the shift to creating, but creating for what? So you don't want to just create, you don't want to just entertain or just put information out there. You want to create something that's going to create some positive change to those who around you.
Exactly, exactly.
The social media giants, Facebook, Twitter, they'd make you believe you're more connected to the world, but in reality, everyone knows you just become more disconnected.
Exactly.
What simple tips do you have to build a true connection to that world?
No, the invisible thing is connector is love. Love is healer of separation and disconnection. When a man and a woman fall in love, the separation ends and they become one. They become connected. They become one. When you love your gardening, your garden and you become one. When you are communicating something out of that love for humanity, out of love for your work, your art, craft, music, at the moment there's a professionalism. People can make things, entertainment can be very attractive, like Netflix films or many other films or social media, Twitters and Facebook and so on. But there is no art and imagination, and there's no love. They are doing it either for money or for power or for position or for status or for fame or for recognition, for award. There's no love. When there's no love, there's no unity. Unity comes from love. Love unites the head and the heart. That unity comes from love. And so what is missing today in our communication and in our media, social media, and the kind of entertainment world is this love. What are we doing it for? They are doing it for money. They are doing it for becoming famous. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to unite people, to awaken people, to make them aware that you are an amazing human being with great potential to rise above this petty nationalism, petty narrow nationalism or racism or casteism or any kind of ism. And you can rise above and embrace the world. That kind of vision is missing. So love is missing. And without love, communication cannot change, cannot bring transformation.
Well, Satishji, we've actually had a few questions from the audience. Some have submitted when they registered for the event, and we've had one come through. If the results don't come when engaged for a long time, when does one uncover the roots of those lessons?
When the results don't come, that is the first mistake. There is no result. Whatever action you are doing, that should be beautiful in itself. You are not waiting for any result. Only result of life is death. So life has no other result than living. And living is not tomorrow. Living is now. You are not living it for tomorrow. You are living for this beautiful moment. Every moment is the most precious gift to you in your life. So live every day, every hour, every minute, fully, joyfully, happily, lovingly, compassionately, kindly, all the great qualities of service and humility that you can bring. So then there's no worry that if results don't come, then what happens? So don't wait for the result. Life is not tomorrow. Life is today. Love is not tomorrow. Love is today. Compassion is not tomorrow. Compassion is now, in this moment. So do not wait for the results.
Brilliant. There's another question. This has also come in earlier. What is the most ethical thing a leader can do? The most ethical thing?
Most ethical thing a leader can do to bring people together, to rise above petty separation and distinction. At the moment, many leaders are separating people, disconnecting. Like you have idea of America first, or you have a leader, Russia first, or China first, or India first, or Brexit. Most of the leaders are acting to divide. They are creating division. They are creating separation. They are creating disconnection. A greatest quality of a leader is to see the unity without uniformity, and diversity without division. We celebrate the diversity, but we don't see diversity turn into division. It's wonderful to have many religions. It's wonderful to have Hindus and Muslims and Christians and Buddhists and Sikhs and Jains and Baha'is and Taoists and American Indian and the indigenous cultures and Bushmen of Kalahari have their religion. It's a diversity. Celebrate diversity. And don't turn diversity into division and say Hindu is better than Muslim, or Muslim is better than Hindu, or Christian is better than Buddhist, or Buddhist is better than Sikh, or Sikh is better than Jain. All this is a kind of your idea. So like all human beings are different, and yet we are all human beings. In the same way, all religions are different, nations are different, cultures are different, languages are different. I don't say English is better than French, or French is better than Hindi, or Hindi is better than Chinese. Different languages have a different way of communicating. So the greatest quality a leader can do and can help to do is to bring the unity and celebrate the diversity, and not turn diversity into divisions and conflicts and quarrels, and not turn unity into uniformity, that everybody has to wear the same uniform, everybody has to follow the same guru, everybody has to do the same thing. Unless you do same thing, you are no good. The unity is not uniformity, and diversity is not division. This is the thing a leader can teach. That's the most fundamental. Every leader has to, and at the moment, the most leaders uphold the division and separation and create uniformity. It's a double whammy. It's a double-edged sword of the uniformity and division. And I want to shift. A true leader shifts from that uniformity and division into unity and diversity.
That's brilliant. That's amazing. So we're coming towards the end. I do have one or two more questions, actually. Just is there a way? Where is the balance? Because you can present your work, especially if it's good work, in a way that inspires others to do the same, but perhaps you want to find the balance between crossing the line and showboating. Where is that fine sort of, where do you draw the line, basically?
Where's the line between
presenting the work you've done to inspire others,
yeah,
and going too far and perhaps just showboating your work?
Sure. Yeah. This is why I start about humility. What we are doing, showing your work, is to say, I'm sharing it. That is a key word. When you are sharing your idea, like I say, I edit Resurgence magazine, and I would like to share information with you. If you would like to read the magazine, I write in every issue, but it's a sharing. I'm not compelling you that my magazine is best and you must subscribe to my magazine. This is the only magazine. No. So in the same way, any other person doing something, you can say you have written a book, or you have a program, or you have something. Share it. Sharing is good. We all share our skill, our products, our services. Whatever we have, we share it. Even the spirit of sharing is good. But when you boast about it and say, my book is the best book, or my religion is the best religion, or this thing is the best thing, you must have this. Don't force it. Share it. That's the key word.
Wow. Yeah, just through one word, you've just sort of really made that completely clear.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, this conversation has been incredible. Lots of questions I've had have really been clarified. I feel very nourished, actually, after this conversation. For those of you who are watching, or will be watching this later, I implore you to check out Satish Ji's work, all his books. Look into the Resurgence magazine in Schumacher College. Incredible stuff going there. If you want some more information about Tattva, either email us or send us your thoughts on today's session. There's a link in the title of the video. Satish Ji, could you just give me and perhaps the audience some final words of wisdom on the overall topic before we close for today?
I mean, what I would like to say in closing is that 2021 is a very crucial year. At this moment, two big crises have come together: COVID crisis and climate crisis. And both those crises are a result of unhealthy and damaging relationship between humans and nature. And therefore, our greatest challenge at this moment is to repair this relationship and make sure that we do no harm to anyone, particularly to nature. Because we are nature. Nature is not only mountains and forests and animals and birds and oceans. Humans are also nature. We are also made of the same elements as the rest of nature, like earth, air, fire, water, space, time, consciousness. Everything is made of the same elements. We are all made of hydrogen and nitrogen and oxygen and all those basic chemicals. And so our challenge in 2021 is COVID crisis and climate crisis. To address this, we have to repair our relationship with nature and celebrate our life and our relationship with nature and our life in nature with frugality and simplicity, and not destroy. Do no harm. That should non-violence. Do no harm. Like a doctor takes a Hippocratic oath. We all should take Hippocratic oath. First, do no harm. If we can do that, then we have a complete freedom of everything else. Freedom of ideas, freedom of values, freedom of opinions, freedom of philosophies, freedom of acting, anything you like. Total freedom within the constraint of doing no harm to nature and do no harm to other people and doing no harm to others and no harm to yourself. Doing no harm. Hippocratic oath. Everybody, economists, politicians, industrialists, educators, everybody should take this oath, Hippocratic oath. Do no harm. Then our nature will be protected and we will have no crisis of climate catastrophe and no crisis of COVID-19. That's my concluding remarks.
Thank you, Satish Ji. Do no harm. I completely agree. I'm sure the audience do as well. Again, thank you so much for taking your time out with us today at Tattva. And we'll hopefully spend some more time with you in the future.
My pleasure.